are at least 20 different marketing strategies. And it seems like you probably tried a bunch of them, running ads, social posting, blogging, speaking, you name it. But it seems like you're just throwing your time, effort, and money on the wall and see what sticks. Find out today from marketing and sales expert on the 3-stage system that will consistently generate the right leads for you to grow your company.
Welcome to Provider's Edge, the podcast that helps healthcare entrepreneurs and innovators break down barriers and control their business, life, and future with valuable action steps. With me, your host, Sabrina Runbeck, a recovered clinician and a business deal catalyst. Let's rewrite the rules and create a positive social impact while increasing your profitability. All right, everyone. We have Kat here with us. She is a organic marketing and lead generation force and a true multiplier, creator of the firework experience. And just look at her, right? She is on fire with her hair, her background, her red energy in the fire that she represents. And she focuses her strategy to support service providers to shorten their sales cycle by attracting ideal clients into one place and spark conversations that lead to more high-ticket sales, and chosen from over 23 firework experiences to create your own levered and truly unique and repeatable process to keep your pipeline full and hit your revenue targets and more predictably. And I think that's what we all want, because most of us have said, oh yeah, we're trying everything. And then I'm like, whoa, okay, what does that everything mean? How are you spending the money on everything? Because you can be like very surface level on everything instead of truly just double, triple down on that one or two things that actually creates so much less headache, because then you only have one workflow instead of multiple workflow that require multiple people to do, right?
Yeah.
None of us like that chaos. So I'm so excited for Kat to be here, and we've been in each other's sphere for, I think more than a year. Yeah, right? Yeah, like for a while. And then I love going to your workshops and whenever it pops in, and then she has networking events. So it definitely is something, I feel like we all talk about marketing and sales, but we don't actually know what to do, or we do it, right? We obviously intuitively do it, but not necessarily saying, is that really meant for me? Is that what my people wanted? And is that how we can show up authentically to provide value and doesn't feel forced on either side, right?
Yeah. And one of the things I've been talking about a lot recently, so I've been recently diagnosed with ADHD. And so, and I'm 42 and it was about 3 months ago. And what I realized is I unknowingly built a successful business without knowing that I had ADHD, but I had to do that and put in structure to help with it. And so it really relates a lot to marketing, because a lot of us, as entrepreneurs, and even a lot of times in the corporate space, if you are someone who likes to pursue different interests and things like that, likelihood is you might have ADHD, but a lot of entrepreneurs even have the tendency. So if we kind of understand that there's a lot of ADHD structure that can support someone in doing the one thing that every single one of us needs to do. And at the end of the day, it really comes down to discipline. Right. And it's doing the thing. Now, if we look at that under the eye of ADHD, right? What are we talking about? It's the same thing, which is none of us want to do things as human beings that's annoying and painful and unenjoyable, right? So that's not even like an ADHD thing. That's just a human thing. So I looked at marketing and I looked at how all the bro marketers were doing it and how everybody was teaching it. And it was like, do this one thing and it'll solve all your problem. But what if that one thing you hate? What if that one thing isn't a strategy that your ideal client likes? It really leaves you having made an investment that's not producing an outcome. And I am all about less input and more output, but that takes practice and discipline. I always use the analogy of if you're wanting to make 200 free throws, right? wanting to do it is not the same as doing it. And just shooting the ball once doesn't mean that you're going to make 200. You actually can't. You can't shoot the ball once and make 200 free throws. So it's kind of the Michael Jordan effect, right? Which is even if you're good at it, you still need to practice. And so what happens is over time, at the beginning, you're not going to make many of those free throws, but the same level of effort is going to produce a greater result if you continue to practice it. So now the 200 free throws go in. And so you've always been shooting 200 shots. It's just that now more of those shots are turning into yes clients. And so that's the whole thing. But we want to find the thing you enjoy doing. So maybe you hate basketball. That's fine. Let's hit a golf ball, right? Let's go play soccer. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's still the same concept. So what I have found with marketing is most people didn't get into business to be experts in it, right? They don't want to be experts in marketing and sales. They just want that to be done and figured out for them. Unfortunately, until you get to a place where you can delegate it, you have to figure out what success looks like for you. And so that someone else can reproduce it. And in order to do that, let's just make it a lot easier, a lot more fun by having you do marketing that you enjoy doing.
Kat and I just talk about the systematic way building a sales pipeline that actually work, because we are all entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs like systems because then it's repeatable. However, many of us just don't know what we don't know. So we tend to discover on our own and feeling really frustrated in this way that we do things. But you know what? We can pick ourselves back up and try again. So the mindset of, I'll just jump out of the airplane and build a parachute while we go down. But guess what? There is a ground. You're gonna hit it if you don't do the building fast enough. So today's discussion really is about what is a systematic approach that can be predictable for your marketing and sales revenue growth while maintaining that authentic relationship with your clients that is enterprise-based or individual patients or caregivers. So I'm so excited to have Kat here with us today because she has helped numerous companies to scale beyond 2 million in revenue, especially in the tech space. So for today, really what we focused on is how to combine the relationship that you can build with your VC partner investors, enterprise clients, and strategic partners, all while making sure you're still being you. Because at the end of the day, people are doing business with you as an individual, with the product services that you can bring in to help solve a gap, as well as the entire company reputation. And sometimes we do a lot of things that are actually wasting resources and very scattered. So then either people don't buy into the overall company, trust the company, because at the end of the day, it's not just you, it's the whole sphere of team that you have put together, or they are not really clear on the product services that actually have big enough market, or you are actually unique enough to be able to create revenue within the market. We see many times that people have built a large following but couldn't create a revenue generating model. And then the following is also on you. Who is the person behind each conversation, each interaction? Whether that's you as a primary driver, as a founder, as a CEO, or could be someone on your team who is really good at building relationship, and they should be the face of the company. And that is for you to decide. And there's no right and wrong way to do this, but there is a right way for you and your entire company. And that's what we can figure out together, is creating that customizable system that create a robust relationship and continue to build on that relationship instead of having this random marketing and sales act in order to create predictable revenue, because revenue means bigger impact. More people you can help, more changes for the future of what we can create in the health and wellness space. Truly, it's about doing marketing that you enjoy doing. Otherwise, there is no consistency, and there's no predictability. Now, quick pause, everyone. I love for you to take a screenshot of wherever you are watching this, hearing this, and share with us by posting on LinkedIn. Tag me, Sabrina Runbeck, and share your thoughts on today's topic. How have your marketing strategy been coming along? Has that just been sending to a strategist and telling you what to do? Or is it something that you actually analyze what you're best at, or your team is best at representing your brand and coming up with a strategy? Let's challenge the norm for your business and drive meaningful changes together. The more we can talk about it together and brainstorm together, the more powerful we become. All right, let's get back to the rest of our show.
Because this is super scientific. I haven't done no scientific research on this. It's my own personal theory. I'm pretty sure it's valid, but just caveating this. I really believe that if you enjoy doing something, you're probably going to do it. So if you enjoy your marketing strategy, the likelihood is you'll be consistent with it. And when you're consistent with your marketing, which is the discipline part, then you're going to produce consistent results, which produces consistent revenue, which is the whole dadgum point, right? And so when you have that consistent revenue, that predictability in your business, then you can show up differently in the world because you're not stressed about, oh my God, what am I going to do in terms of revenue this month? You know what's going to happen. You know exactly the steps it takes, and it's already stuff you enjoy doing. So it becomes easier, but we have to put strategic effort into it. And so when you have that consistency and predictability, you can make better decisions as a CEO. You can show up in the lives of the people you love in a more present way. And to me, that's how I'm going to put more love that's into the world and how I'm going to help change it. So that's what I want for people, is to figure out a strategy that they love doing so that they're building out this ecosystem that's shortening the sales cycle, that's creating predictability so that you can do more of the work you love, which is creating that impact and generating the income at the same time. I just went on a whole tangent there, on a whole soapbox moment. So.
Well, this is the thing that we always love to hear, right? Because what you're saying is very critical, whether you are a company in that pre-C and C level, which means you have to figure out. And yes, it can be easier if you are able to hire someone who can do it for you. But now that someone cannot be saying, this is how we do it, just copy. Because again, if it's not your nature to do things, you subconsciously gonna kill the project down the road, right? And it's same thing with marketing. We also experience that, right? Even though we have a whole network of healthcare podcasters, right? For Healthcare Amplify, we even hire PR agencies, right? People who are do publishing, whatnot. And then we can see the differences in what they're forcing us to do. So they're forcing just, well, won't it be faster if people just know who you are? And I'm like, well, if you cut the relationship building side completely, then there's no trust. There's no like. You are not approaching them as you would already want to have that relationship. Because if we start with a superficial way, that relationship won't last. And you're going to feel more bombarded with the wrong people knocking on your door. So yes, pre-CC, we have to figure out you as a CEO, how you represent yourself. And then one of the other barrier is you cannot feel like, oh, I'm being salesy, someone else just do it. Well, you are the brand at the end of the day, unless you have a co-partner, right, of another founder or another executive who can represent the brand. You have to participate. And then if that co-founder is representing brand, then just like what Kat's saying, we have to figure out their firework experience. How do they get ignited to do it over and over again? And that doesn't feel like a burden to them. Right.
Absolutely.
And then when you go into Series A and above, when you have a lot more revenue, a lot more funding, yes, then you can say, okay, now how can I step away a little bit more and not so much in all the time, that we can create subset. But that subset also depends on who else is in the organization that can do, right? Then we have to create a separate framework for those individuals that is might be different from you, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about your firework experience. How do people kind of even begin to think about it?
So there's only so many marketing strategies out there. And I want to caveat this with there is not a single marketing strategy that is dead. If you hear someone say, this is dead, email marketing is dead, cold calling is dead, all this other stuff, it's not true. All the marketing works. It just depends on whether it's going to work for you and whether it's going to work for your ideal client. So I have 23 different firework experience that I have all standard operating procedures for, which is the key of all of this is how do we reproduce the results? So everything is underpinned and supported by the systems and the processes you have in place. So as the CEO continues to grow in their role, they can trust that someone is going to follow the recipe for success. Because the one thing I know that VCs definitely are looking for is repeatability. Repeatability comes with documentation. So if you don't have that, you're shooting yourself in the foot and you're making yourself very much less appealing. So go ahead and start making sure you have all those things in place. So at the next level is we want to make sure we're looking at how do you show up best and how are you enabling other people to do the same? So really everything that we're doing comes down to sales. But the problem is we're human. We're lazy sometimes. Let's say we're busy, right? And so we default to certain ways of being. So if you're someone who likes to consume a lot of information in order to make a decision, the likelihood is you're going to put someone else through that same exact process. However, if you're looking at people, whether that's someone who's buying from you or someone on your team, the last thing you want is someone who's exactly like you. You want someone who complements your strengths, who complements and fills in the gaps for your weaknesses. And so your ideal client isn't always a carbon copy of who you are. A lot of times your ideal client is a version of who you used to be, right? Or it's a different version of you. And so if you sell and you engage the way that you buy, then you're leaving a lot of opportunity and a hell of a lot of revenue on the table for someone else. And so we really want to look at, are you facilitating people to engage with you in different ways? Some people, and a lot of this is happening, especially with the younger generation, is they struggle to put pants on to even go outside and people, right? So if you're, right, like relatable. And so if you're, let's say, a chiropractor and all you do are in-person events, the likelihood is that you're alienating a large portion of people who could buy from you because you're forcing someone to use a strategy that they don't like. It doesn't mean it's not a good strategy. It still works, but it's also not super scalable. And so we want to look at not just can we get a bigger buyer audience, but can we leverage your time more effectively and allow someone else to step into that role if it's not one that you want to have. Now, I know that most CEOs still stay in the marketing and sales role, but part of the VC funding that's allowing them to be leveraged is to actually step out of that role. But if you don't have those things documented, if you don't have a modality to allow for more people to engage with your system and your process and your sales pipeline, then you're making things a lot harder for yourself unnecessarily. So there are 5 different buyer types out there. So if you think about this, you can think about this also in terms of how do you engage your clients? How do you engage your customers? How do you engage your employees? People behave differently. It's not the same person over and over again. That would be super boring. And so if you're thinking even about team dynamics, are you facilitating a culture and an environment that allows for different personalities? Some people like to consume a bunch of information. Some people just need to know the price point. I'm just keeping this in the buying kind of cycle area. Some people, need to feel connected. They need to feel like you really know them and that there's a heart-to-heart connection. Those are the people that take like 5 or 6 sales calls, right? And maybe that's not your style, but maybe that is. But if you're forcing someone who makes a decision really fast to have 5 or 6 sales calls, I'm telling you, they're not going to buy. But then again, if you're forcing someone to buy on the first call, then you might be alienating some of your best clients, right? And so we really want to allow people to make a decision in a way that's empowering to them by allowing them to consume the right amount of information that fits their personality, to allow them to connect to you at a level, even if that means not necessarily actually interacting with them. But are you providing the information and the experiences that are allowing for all of that to happen without you having to actively participate in every aspect of the business? And a lot of this can be done with automation, with really smart copy, with a lot of really intelligent, strategic firework experiences in terms of how someone can interact with you. And yeah, even in the structure of your sales call. And it doesn't have to be black and white. A lot of what I love doing with my clients is it's akin to an analogy of like a playground. So a lot of people, the sales call might happen in the sandbox. Now, if we don't put structure around the sandbox, the sand's going to go everywhere. You're not going to have anything to play in. And so that's not fun. However, people also don't want to feel super constricted because a lot of people with ADHD don't like being told what to do. And a lot of women also don't like being told what to do because most of our lives have been people telling us what to do. So what I like doing is just providing structure that allows for flexibility. And so what that means is we're just putting parameters around the sandbox, but you absolutely have permission to go anywhere on the playground. And the sales call happens in the sandbox. So you can still have different toys in the sandbox that you're playing with, but we want to make sure that we're keeping the sand in the sandbox so that we're really leveraging our time effectively. And so there is a structure that allows for flexibility, that allows for you to show up in your power, and also allows that person to feel seen and heard, because that's what most people are missing from a sales call. Because it's not about closing. It's about making sure it's the right fit. We want clients who pay in full. We want clients who are going to show up and do the work. I don't handle sales objections ever. If your objection is it's sunny outside, then that's your objection. Go enjoy the day. I am not here to close you. I am here to invite you to work with me and for you to come to the call ready to buy. And so are you allowing that to happen, or are you really focused on just closing that next call? And it's the same thing with employee retention, employee attraction, hiring the best people. It's not just how much money are you paying them, but what is the experience that they're having, especially with the next generations coming into leadership roles.
Yeah, it's so critical of thinking about that experience part, because we all know there are objections out there, right? But if we're focusing on handling objection, you put yourself in a mindset that the client gonna mirror. And if you put it in a mindset of, okay, this person is asking for pricing, that's the only thing they worry about. Put a pricing, okay, this is how we work. Seems like you are asking us to solve this. Is that still valuable? Okay, great. To work together, blank price. And then we have refinancing options, but this is how we do it. And then you can always give those additional bonuses and things that you can add value, but you should feel comfortable of giving that out, and then have them sit and marinate and really truly think about, and also help them to make that decision. And we have a conversation with early stage company where just like, you're not ready. Like, we won't engage with company unless they are in revenue, unless they have a good, decent structure of a business model that we can truly optimize and put you on the right path, not to have a scatter ground and then you guys is just doing different trials, right? You're just not in the right place for the high function team to actually even engage with you, because we're going to feel like you're not in the right place. However, we can see, okay, where still go? Okay, you can get there the next year this time. Perfect. Let's talk to you next year, right? Or, okay, you're going to be finished by the end of the year. All right, what's that tangible outcome you want? Let's talk about that. And then talk about how you can shift, right? Helping them to get to the right point is also crucial, because now you're really in the giver spot and not just we wanted to work, right? It's really not about revenue at the end of the day, right? Revenue will come with the right people, and that will come with a good reputation, and you don't deal with those paying clients and they're just, you want to fire them and like halfway through. So
oh my God. Yeah. Every time I've tried to handle an objection, I've almost every single time, except for one person, that has been a more difficult client. Right. And so that's why I just look at, how do I make the best client, right? What is that idealist? Not just ideal, but that idealist. This is the person for me, pays in full, who wants to do the work. So a lot of my marketing doesn't focus on pain. I acknowledge the pain. I have to recognize that it exists, but I want people who are connected to the possibility, because possibility is where people do the work, right? So those are those resounding hells yeses. If you're constantly handling objection, you're probably getting resentful ones. The resentful yeses ask for refunds. The resounding yeses get results and they reinvest. And that's what we want, is that longer term. So if someone isn't ready, I don't ever make them wrong. They just go in the pipeline. It's a no that I turn into a yes later on, but it has to be a fit for both of us. So you called it out, which is you have to have these qualifiers in place, and you've got to know what they are, and you've got to be willing to hold the boundary, because if not, you're just going to get these draining clients that are just going to make it harder for you to make space for the right fit ones. And it's easy to say when things are going well.
Now, do you feel like you want to fire some of your clients, or some of the business partners are really not contributing? Even board members, we always said there are two types of board members. There are the title board members or functional ones. Functional ones are in it to win it with you, which means they are doing not just the strategy, but they're rolling up the sleeves. They are doing things together for you, monitoring, quality control, outsourcing. We're going out there doing the things for you themselves, and not just being someone who stand by on the sideline and see whether you win or fall, and then they'll step in if some movement comes along. The latter ones are truly just a title member. They say they will open doors for you. Maybe once in a while they'll make an introduction, but they don't actually help you to follow up. Now, those members are not truly going to help you, and same thing with clients. If these clients are asked you 10,000 questions, but they're not really meaningfully engaging with you. I even have people that have recently talking to me, have no idea what's the difference between a registered agent versus CPA who is having a large practice that need a tax break, especially during this time of the year. And even though we have explained how there are different certifications, especially RAs are trained into specific testing on tax laws, and that practice, that owner just didn't get it. So for people who are using excuses in their own mind, and they don't actually have the good knowledge, and they try to fight with you, guess what? It's not a good experience to even be around. And therefore, I simply don't help him anymore. And that goes the same thing. I would not recommend anyone else to work with him, even though he's asking for help. So sometimes we need to be humble enough to know what we know and what we don't know, and be able to set those boundaries for the environment you're bringing in. So if there are clients that simply are super disruptive and taking up all your time, you can't even focus on the ones that are positively contributing to the mission you're doing, then you need to have boundaries and make that shift. And that's what me and Kat is talking about. All right, so for those of you who also have expertise in growing yourself and growing your business, who has successfully been building your business, we would love to feature you on our show. Go to theprovidersedge.com to apply as a speaker. All right, let's get back to the rest of the show.
It's this place of where people are like, but don't know, right? Your marketing is in your control. Your copy is in your control. If you're not having the number of sales calls that you want, if you're not getting the yeses that you want, it's not a sales problem. Like 99% of the time, it's not a sales problem. It's a marketing problem. So it's really looking at what is the experience you're providing and how easy are you making it for someone to get to a decision? The last thing you want is for someone to be hanging out in decision purgatory, right? It's terrible. They're leading you on, cut back to me next month, follow up with me next quarter. Oh, if only you'd reached out to me 3 months ago. No. That means your marketing isn't working effectively. You need to help people make a decision. And if it's a no, great. They're in your pipeline, and now you know, and you have a face and a name. And you can nurture them, and you can provide an experience. And so it's really not just about who are the 3% of people ready to buy, but what are you doing with the 97%? The 97% of people who are either getting ready to buy, who can make a connection for you, or who can collaborate with you and provide you opportunity. And do you have the systems and processes in place to turn opportunity into revenue? That's where I see a lot of people failing. And so most people have marketing that's working. And you said it, it's superficial. So we've all opted into something, got it, and it was a hot piece of garbage. That person had effective marketing. They got our email, right? But they didn't think about our experience. So they never even gave themselves a chance for a sale because they were just checking the boxes. You need to have a strategy behind the strategy. What is the experience? What is a problem that you're solving at every interaction that's making someone a better buyer? Right? And are you also providing them an experience that is giving them an aha moment of how you think differently? The likelihood is someone has already invested in solving this problem. So if you're marketing and talking the same way that they are, they're not going to invest with you. You need to show people how you're different, how your perspective is the thing that they've been missing. And that's ultimately what someone is buying. And so making sure you're communicating your values, that you're communicating your ethics, that you're communicating who you are as a human being, because people are done with a guru from the mountaintop approach. They want connection. They are willing to pay and pay high ticket, but you better deliver and you better support, because the coaching industry is thinking that they can charge all these high tickets and never deliver value. Don't be that person. You're not. And you know when it's out of alignment. And so start looking at delivering amazing results, because that ultimately is what the VCs also want to see, is that consistency and predictability in your ability to retain and continue to upsell clients. It's so much easier in terms of a sales process. You're 30% more likely to renew a client. You're 50% more likely to renew them again. And then 70% more likely to renew them again. So if you know those numbers are in your favor, you want to make sure you're putting your effort in the right place. It's not always about generating new leads, but about making sure that you're activating your current network, because most of us have already generated all the leads we ever need in our entire life of our business. But are you managing the relationships? Are you actually asking people to buy from you? Or are you just waiting to send an email and hope that someone's going to click that buy button? If you are, then you're not going to succeed. So it's really about managing the relationships, being proactive, having the conversation. And if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Right. Too many people focusing on newly, but they're not thinking about what's your sphere of influence and what's the community that you already
Let them
built.
do your lead generation. The firework experience works so well because other people are doing your lead generation for you for free. You don't have to pay for ads necessarily. Until you get a system and process that converts consistently, you shouldn't be investing in ads. Ads is a great strategy if you've got success. And if you've got success at a place where you don't have to worry about getting an ROI on your ads.
I think one of the reason people use ad is fear, because they feel like, well, we don't know if our message works, so we're just going to throw money at the ad, see what actually turns on. But then because it's so fast and quick, yes, you can get the KPIs in what's the click rate and all those,
Right.
how many people actually land into your offer to learn about it, how many people actually fill out the form or book a call, however you want to measure your success. But that's not enough even time or awareness. That's just flashing, right? That's just like you're scrolling through Instagram. Oh my God, there's a funny thing. Ha ha ha, liked it, next, right? There's no connection.
And we see this all the time. And what people say is what was working isn't working anymore. So we have to look at buyer behavior isn't just in terms of how someone buys. It's also about how someone interacts. So it doesn't start with a swipe of the credit card. It swipes with that very first interaction, whether it has to do with your content, you speaking, you podcasting, whatever it is that you're doing in terms of visibility, because ultimately the solution to what we're looking to solve is that more people need to know you exist so that you have the opportunity to put your offer in front of them. And so if you're not looking at how are your clients buying, how are they engaging and interacting in the online space? So pre-pandemic, pandemic, and post-pandemic, the same person bought differently in all three of those stages. So if you're not keeping up with how that person is showing up in the world, where they are in terms of their evolution, in terms of their career, in terms of their business, then you're being lazy is really the answer. And so it's really about keeping in touch and keeping abreast of what the trends are. And the likelihood is you're not a marketing expert. So stop pretending like you are and engage the team that can support you. Someone like you, right? Who knows what they're doing, who has a constant pulse on what's going on in terms of technology, even VC behavior and investment, what it is that they're looking for now, because what was working 10 years ago is not working now. And so having someone like you on your team helps you fast track your results. You can figure it out on your own. That's fine. And it's going to take you a hell of a lot longer. So you've got time or money. You decide what you want to invest.
Oh, yeah. It's like people's false belief is always, well, I got time, quote unquote. Do you really
No.
have time when you don't have money on early
You
stages?
can always make more money. You cannot make more time. End of the
Correct.
day.
At the end of the day. So you have to be able to say, do you need to simply get better investors now? Figure out how to do that. So then you can invest in the right people to give you the right strategy. So you're not trying so much, burning out your resources and actually have a really short runway. And especially important once you start scaling bigger, it's not that, oh, I have a $90,000 budget and we're just going to do everything. No, like that $90,000 budget, if you throw all in the ad, but you didn't actually do all the other things that actually creates the right relationship for the long run, then you're missing out all the marks. You're wasting the money that the investors have given you, or even come out of your own pocket. A lot of people pride themselves for bootstrap the company, right? That's amazing. That's awesome. But that's even more critical on where you put the money in the best way, right? The sharpest part of the knife. But if you don't even know, you're just guessing it, then you have to talk to people who have multiple solutions to figure out what matches you, right? And then we say that Kat has a 5 different buyer type, which we'll ask Kat to quickly name them again, summarize that one by one. But we also say influence also come to 9 different type of perception, right? There are 9 different type of how you perceive the world and influence the world. You need to understand, how do you be showing up for others? How do you interpret their messages? Then add on to the buyer persona, add on to how you actually are making decision with yourself or a team, right? Even go into, oh yeah, I only care about results. So if people talk to me all about process, I got lost. Oh, I'm very visual. If you give me a decision tree and then it seems to make sense, then we're good, right? So we have to figure a little bit more out.
All right, so what was one thing that stood out to you from the first half of our interview? Next week, we will review the second half of this marketing strategy. Now, what truly was meaningful from Kat's insight was that when she said 97% of people are not truly ready to buy from you when you initially engage with her or anybody out there, we also know that sales pipeline takes a very long time. Sometimes it's weeks, months after multiple conversations. And that's why a lot of times these, even though they can be a high quality leads, are lost to follow up. And it's because there are 5 buyer personas that Kat has mentioned, and we also mentioned there are 9 different type of people anyway. Half the population are connectors, other half are more cerebral, and 50% of people out of those are more, you needed to show them, demonstrate, they have to touch, feel the reality of things, and the other 50% people are needed to be more energetic, gut feeling, that type of people to actually prove to them, not really by any data point. So humans are complex. If you don't really know how to talk to everyone, and sometimes it is only talk to what you naturally do, or only following one track, you are not going to be able to speak in the right language. And if the message is too long, or is not exactly saying the right thing to the right people, and perhaps you do have a very narrow set of type of people that you go after, then amazing. Make sure you're very tailored to the messages. And that's why today we also wanted to let you know that our very first game show, Health Tech Showdown, is launching on January 23rd at 11 a.m. Eastern. Go register right now. It's a private event that we're hosting, really helping people to see what is the best way to increase your revenue, whether you are pitching investors, talking to an entrepreneur business partner, and clients. What's the best way to convey your message in 2 minutes? So we have a pitch competition among 4 amazing health tech solutions out there. and you get to vote for the winner. And the winner gets additional feature because they deserve to be known out there. You also get to walk away with our playbook and our new published book on this topic from some of the most amazing people out there in tech, how they are able to convince the public and investors to open their doors and wallets to support them, become their champion, and those best strategies convince someone that your solution truly deserves to make a splash and sustainable to support the future of healthcare. So go to healthtechshowdown.com to grab your ticket, and we'll see you there. And we can't wait to also announce our winner for the Health Impact Awards on that show. Now, next week, we will continue to discuss what's the rest of the framework on creating the duplicatable system. Because guess what? Sometimes creating operational system is really dry, but once you get there, you spend the right time in the beginning, everything just comes so much easier. You no longer have decision fatigue. You can actually test out the right way, saving your resources on the right thing, so you can truly 10 times the result, not just working more and more and trying to figure things out. All right, until next time.
Thank you for tuning in to Provider's Edge podcast. We hope you enjoy our latest episode and found the insights and tips helpful. We'd love to hear your feedback on the show and learn what topics you'd like us to cover in the future. So please take a moment to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform and let us know what you think. Your feedback is essential to help us improve the show and provide you with the content you need to take your healthcare business to the next level. Thank you for your support, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.